I was in our backyard exercising on the trapeze, and my hand slipped, and I fell about 10 feet to the ground and landed on my forehead, broke the 6th and 7th vertebrae. I remember my hand slipping on the trapeze. As I was falling, I heard a voice, a very clear, deep voice saying, "It's not time yet." And I didn't know whether it was my voice or whose voice. And then I remember sort of swimming back to the surface. And I remember waking up the next day in the hospital. A lot of those early days, I was just a passive observer. At NIH, they set the schedule, they determined what you wore, they determined the menu, and a lot of hospital life is like that. You hurry up and wait. I remember a girlfriend came in to visit, and I remember looking over and seeing her and saying hi, looking back, and then looking over again, and she was disappeared. And apparently she had fainted at the sight of me with the Crutchfield tongs digging into my scalp to hold 30 pounds of weights on a pulley to keep my neck straight and in alignment. I was on a striker frame. Every hour or so you get turned from right side up to upside down so you avoid pressure sores. It's like a human rotisserie. About the third or fourth day I was there, I mentioned to the staff that there's a mouse in the air conditioner. And the nurse said, "We're on the 14th floor, there aren't any mice here." The next morning when my father came in, he looked around, took the cover off, and found a rat trapped in a little corner of the air conditioner. And I felt so good to be vindicated. When they finally took the metal tongs out of my skull, I could move my head around and my arms. And I went to Georgia Warm Springs Rehabilitation Center down in Georgia. And they started me with various exercise routines to build my strength. Did some stuff I never thought I'd be able to do physically, like learning to transfer from my seat to the car seat or to the bathtub bench, or learning to feed myself with adapted equipment. My 5th week, this young quadriplegic, Larry Keegan, wheels in, and he turns out he's my roommate for the weekend and following Monday, where he's come all the way to Georgia Warm Springs Foundation to learn how to put his socks on. That was the only thing he hadn't mastered. I solved that by not using socks, but he wanted to be a little more conventional. He had a hand-controlled car. He was playing in a band. He was dating on Saturday nights and partying at bars on Friday nights, and he went off to college. He was an amazing guy. And toward the end of the conversation, he said, "You know, Fred, you'll never walk again." And I immediately wanted to change the subject. And he said, "No, you need to face this. You're gonna be in a wheelchair all your life." And I said, "Well, they're doing research. They may come up with something." And he repeated it, you know, "You're never gonna walk again." And after he left, I cried my heart out. It's like I'd lost both legs and both arms, and it was just devastating. But the next morning in physical therapy, I was lifting weights, not because the PT was telling me to, but because if I could get the strength in my arms, I could fold my wheelchair up and put it in the back seat of my car and drive off and get to date and drink and all that good stuff. It was just amazing transformation. The day after, I felt really wonderful possibilities. I learned long ago that I created my own world. It wasn't up to other people to decide who I was or what I was or where I was going. It was up to me. I didn't see any choice, really. I mean, I could give up and rot away in a hospital bed, or I could get an education and do something with my life. And that sounded a lot more fun.
I think his parents were a bit apprehensive about us coming out here at the Cornlands and starting in college. But Fred was quick to adjust and became a leader on campus. Fred was very headstrong, and I appreciated that. The doggedness that Fred had was part of his strength.
I'm independent, I can get dressed, I can drive a hand-controlled car and so on, but I'm really a backdoor citizen or a second-class citizen when it comes to getting into the buildings my taxes pay for.
Fred, for me, was more than just a mentor. He was somebody who, in his own right, is a huge pioneer. I knew he had his struggles, but man, that guy bounced back, and he became a driving force behind the movement. Great things happened, and he was always the center of it.
Before we even had websites, he kept us all connected through the database that he was running from his bed, lying on his back with all of his gizmos in front of him. And I remember thinking to myself, half the people on the phone have no idea that a person that can't walk, can't sit up, is doing one of the most powerful things that our movement has ever done.
Overall, the disability is more an inconvenience than anything else. I'd rather be me than anybody I know. There's never enough hours in the day to do all the stuff I want to work on. And in a way, I feel sorry for the people who don't get involved in life and don't try to make a difference. But to each his own.